Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the State of the Saints podcast. What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And I'm actually recording this for the very first time on my Mac laptop, man. I normally don't use this webcam right here, man, but I decided to go live because I looked at it. I'm like, man, it's pretty doggone good right here, man. Some good quality right here. Shouts out to Mac. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints, as I try to attempt to put this mic down just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Y'all can see all the behind the scenes stuff that I try to do before the show starts. But I really do appreciate your time, no matter where you are, wherever you may be. Really do appreciate it, man. Much love, much love, much love. First off, we got some church announcements that I want to talk about. Okay. First off, we know that it's Thursday, a new episode of the Unapologetic Podcast, a podcast that doesn't really focus on sports, will be available later on this evening for all those that have checked out the Unapologetic Podcast, or if you don't know anything about it, you can go to youtube.com, search Unapologetic Podcast. We're going to be talking about what happened in Kansas City. Of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know about the idiot that decided to go out there and shoot and wound 22 people and kill one individual. We'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Super Bowl halftime. We're going to be talking about some of the best halftime shows of all time. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of other things as well. So if you're into that type of stuff, come on over to the Unapologetic Podcast. Definitely going to be talking about that joint and so many other different things as well. Also going to be talking about Valentine's Day as well, man. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are really making some moves, man. They making moves, making $1 million moves, making moves. Some of y'all that watch wrestling, y'all know what I'm talking about. But the New Orleans Saints are making some huge moves. They're making some gigantic moves, man. And look, I know we all have been very, very critical of this team, and I say this on every episode, and justifiably so, because what they have done, over the last couple of seasons has left a lot to be desired. We have been extremely frustrated as a staff, organization, and crew, or fan base crew. Y'all know how it go, man. This is very, very frustrating when you have so many talented players and you just cannot get over that hump. And the Saints decided to kind of revamp their defense last year, bringing in Joe Woods, bringing in Marcus Robinson, adding different flavors to the team defensively, making it kind of be molded in the image of Dennis Allen coaching staff. And we all said that if he can't win with his guys, then he needs to go. And they decided to keep a lot of the guys on the offensive side of the football, led by Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator. And I don't need to tell any Saints fans how that turned out. That was an absolute disaster. Pete Carmichael still stuck in the past, sweating to the oldies, acting as if Will Smith had a brand new episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on, the way that he was coaching that offense. And we all know that the Saints needed to get a little bit innovative. We know that the New Orleans Saints had to step their game up and kind of get into the 21st century. And they decided to do that this offseason by adding Clint Kubiak, a highly touted offensive mind. Plenty of teams wanted Clint Kubiak, and the New Orleans Saints decided that was the guy that they wanted. And, I got to give them credit for that, because if I can do shows about does anybody want to be a part of the Saints coaching staff with Dennis Allen as the head coach. If I can be man enough to have a episode like that, then I should be man enough to say that they did their due diligence and they got the guy that they wanted. So congratulations to the New Orleans Saints on that. And they are bringing in different guys. I mean, they brought in Andrew Janocko to be the quarterback's coach. They have brought in Derrick Foster as the running backs coach. And now they bring in Rick Dennison, a well-respected offensive-minded coach. I mean, Rick Dennison has been in the league for a very long time. He hasn't been there for about 2 seasons, but he is 65 years old, a guy who has been there, done that. He has 3 Super Bowl championships to his credit. He has a rich coaching acumen here, as a offensive coordinator, as an offensive line coach, as a running backs coach, and the Saints are bringing him in as the running games coordinator and offensive line type guy. So we all know that this guy has a reputation for helping the offensive line, and we know that the New Orleans Saints offensive line has not been very good over the last couple of seasons. Doug Marrone has been fired. All I can say is it was the right move. You don't want to see anybody lose their job, but in reality, this is a production business, right? I mean, you got to leave your feelings at the door. You got to leave your friendships at the door, because the most important thing is winning and generating results. And Doug Marrone was not generating results, and the offensive line looked pretty bad. And because the offensive line looked pretty bad, the running game looked bad. So the fact is, the Saints bringing in Derrick Foster, a well-respected guy, a well-respected coach. He has been very instrumental in helping running back Austin Eckler out there with the Los Angeles Chargers. We all know what Austin Eckler can do. He's extremely talented. And we all are expecting the New Orleans Saints to put emphasis on the running game. And you can tell by some of these moves, the Saints want to be a physical football team. And most of the time, when you have a defensive-minded coach, that is what they want. They want smash mouth football. They want you to control the time of possession. They want their defense to be nice and well rested, so when they go out there for their series, they can be able to shut it down and put it back into the hands of the offense. And you also have a really good coordinator in Clint Kubiak, who has experience as a passing games coordinator, which I feel like can really help Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been in the league. This will be his 11th season. And we know that the New Orleans Saints, they need to get the best out of Derek Carr based on the price tag that they gave him, based on the commitment that they have towards him. So you got to be able to step your game up, and you step your game up by going and erasing some of the things that worked in the past that kind of been passe, so to speak, right? Look, we have no problems with the past, right? We appreciate everything that Pete Carmichael and Sean Payton and all of those staff members that he has done, but you have to move on. You got to move on, and you got to be able to get with the now. And getting these young coaches in with a combination of seasoned veterans, we know what that can actually lead to. So hopefully the New Orleans Saints can finally live up to their potential. Dennis Allen, it seems like he wants to shape the team the way that he wants it. Maybe this could feel more like his team. And because of that, you have zero excuses now. I mean, last year we thought he didn't have an excuse, and they decided to bring him back. This year, if the New Orleans Saints decide to bring back Dennis Allen, then something clearly is wrong with this organization, because you have given this guy an opportunity to revamp the defensive side of the football with coaches and the offensive side of football with coaches. If the New Orleans Saints cannot make the playoffs or not generate levels of success offensively, more so than they did last season, then I think the Saints are going to have to concede that it's curtains for Dennis Allen, because there's not a fan out there. There is not a fan out there that's going to support this football team if they decide to bring back Dennis Allen after they just revamped both the defensive side of the ball in 2023, and now they're revamping the offensive side of football in 2024 when it comes to the coaching staff. You got to be able to move on from him if it just don't work out, because obviously you just don't have the right guy, right? You just don't have the right guy pushing the buttons. But hopefully the Saints can be able to get something out this coaching staff. It looks very promising. I still feel like fans are reluctant to try to embrace this football team because, once again, they still have Dennis Allen as a coach, and people don't have a lot of faith in him. But it is a step in the right direction. And once again, for those Saints fans out there that are hypercritical of these moves and, basically poo-pooing on Clint Kubiak, saying that all he is a glorified Gatorade holder for the 49ers and we all happy about it. First off, I'm just going to say this. You know zero about football. I just want to make that clear. You know zero about football. Don't want to talk football with you. You're just a negative individual, and we don't need that type of energy over here. Now, some people will probably say, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black because you're hypercritical of the team. I don't choose to be hypercritical of the team. I don't try to find reasons to hate on the football team. If they do something that I feel is unnecessary or they're, basically putting their hands in their pockets as everything just explodes around them, of course I'm going to be hypercritical. But I'm never going to be hypercritical if I feel like they're making moves to make the team better, because that's what it's all about. You can't cry and whine and boo-hoo about the Saints being a little bit more innovative and trying to go out here and get younger, innovative coaches. And then when they decide to go that route, still have a problem with it. Well, it just seems like you're like those people that watch Super Bowl halftime shows. No matter who they put on stage, you're never going to be satisfied. That's the way I look at it. But all in all, they're making the right moves. I don't know if these moves are going to help this football team reach its full potential, but at least they're trying. I think the biggest issue that we had was the fact that we felt they weren't trying. It was the fact that they felt they were so arrogant and full of themselves. It felt as if they were that way, and we became very, very frustrated as a fan base and as onlookers. We're wondering what the heck is going on. What are you all seeing that we don't see? Obviously they realized it and opened their eyes that they had an issue, and they're trying to fix that. So I have no problem with what's going on in New Orleans right now. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think that Clint Kubiak can bring something to the table, and I just hope that those people that just think that this guy is a quote glorified Gatorade holder will backtrack and say they sorry. But of course, we know that people don't work like that. They just decided to delete their tweets. But let's go ahead and read some of your comments, and we'll go ahead and get started from there. Thank you all for being here. We've got 82 people that's watching this live right now. Know it's kind of spurred a moment, but I ask that you hit the like button. Hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. And if you want to donate to the State of the Saints podcast, you can do so by Super Chats. Let me go ahead and read your comments. Jerry says, is it true that the Saints will be practicing in California this year due to renovations at the facility? Jerry, as far as everything that I've heard, yeah, that is true. Shouts out to my reporter friends down on the ground out there in New Orleans. Yeah, they said that they actually renovating, I think the cafeteria or lunch area or something like that as far as at the facility. So they're looking for another place. They're looking for another place for them to be able to, I guess, go practice for training camp and stuff. So they're looking at California as a destination, probably where I want to say where the Rams will practicing at. So they'll probably be out there somewhere. But a lot of teams, they try to go places where the weather isn't a big issue, But the Saints have been practicing in, out there in New Orleans, on airlines. So when you look at it, like, does it really benefit them being out there in that heat? Not from what I've seen over the last 2 years. So you might as well go practice in 70 degrees, and hopefully that'll help you be able to, stay out there a little bit longer if the weather doesn't have any issues, or you don't have any issues with the weather. Congratulations, TJ MacBook. Yeah, man. Look, I never tried that. I mean, I never tried it, but of course, I got like some new things set up, man. Got some new cameras here now and new lighting. Shouts out to the station. We got some new lighting. So, decided to like kind of use that. And that's the benefit of working at the station. Get to use some of the resources they're kind enough to allow me to use that. So, so I guess because of the lighting that I have in here now, it helps the MacBook look pretty good. I'm like, man, like this look like I'm actually on like one of the 4K webcams. I mean, from what I see, I don't know. Sometimes it be buffering it. I don't even know it, but looks pretty good to me now. TJ, my former Carver High School Ram. Man, what's going on, man? Appreciate you for being here. Yeah, man, product of Carver High School, man. 3059 Higgins. Everybody stand up. Yeah, man, very proud to be a Ram. Graduated in 2004 from Carver Senior High School, man. Yeah, so shouts out to all the Carver Rams out there. And thank you for being here. I appreciate that. DJ Lisa Lopez Galvin was the name of the person who was shot. Yeah, a well-respected DJ out there, and that's sad, man. That's just awful. But Jerry, we'll get into that on Unapologetic Podcast. I'll talk about that a little bit, and expound on that. Says millions of dollars, primetime players. Exactly. Somebody got it. Yo, what's up? And who that? There are two Jerry G's. Man, Carver looks way better now. Yeah, it looks much better than when I was out there. I can tell you that right now. Like, yeah, man. I mean, it looks a whole lot better. Like, I went out there a couple months ago with my son, and I was fortunate enough to take pictures with him, out there. And I'm like, man, this school looked nothing like it did when I was there. When you used to walk up to the school, you basically, be under what they call a breezeway. There wasn't an actual building. It was no building. All right? It was a breezeway. And your classrooms, I mean, it was a building, but some classrooms, you was in a trailer. You walk up and, of course, you have that front gate and you walk through the gate and, after they check you and all that kind of stuff, make sure you ain't got no weapons on you. You walk up to the front and, like go under the breezeway. You go to the left. If you go to the left, you're going upstairs to your classroom. You go to the right, you got the ROTC room and the band room. So I can remember that like it's, like it was yesterday. And I haven't been in high school in 20 years? That's crazy. Let's see. TJ, do you think if Dennis Allen doesn't work out this year, there's a chance we will get Bill Belichick next year? I don't know if, I think there's a chance, like you got to say there would be a chance. But my question is, would Mickey Loomis be willing to give Bill Belichick that type of power? Now, you can say that he was willing to give Sean Payton that level of power because Sean Payton was extremely instrumental in bringing in players, right? So I don't feel like that would be a big issue. But I think with all these different talented coaches out there, why would you want to go out here and, and hire somebody? I mean, I like to say, man, Bill Belichick, I mean, he won, 6 Super Bowls? But at the same time, I mean, this is a young man's game now. So if you can get yourself a young, promising coach, I think you might want to go that route. And who knows? I mean, maybe this is the start of something that's new and fresh. Maybe the Saints, instead of them looking at, old coaches that used to win, they start looking at young, promising coaches. But, I mean, it's not out the realm of possibility. If Bill Belichick is still out there and your team needs a coach, I mean, why not look at him? I remember how it used to look back then, the long walk to the front gate getting checked by security. Exactly. Like you walk through the front, like you get checked by security, and then you have to walk all the way up, that long trail. Man, it was a long walk between like the front gate and to the school. But yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, man. Let's see. TJ, do you think New Orleans Saints can make their own Super Bowl next year, in your honest opinion? It's not out the realm of possibility. You got to look at the state of the NFC. You look at the state of the NFC, it's not like they have world beaters out there. You got a NFC that is trying to find their franchise guys. Like you look at the AFC, I mean, it's so top heavy at quarterback position. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Lamar Jackson, you got Joe Burrow, you got Josh Allen, you got Justin Herbert. I mean, the list goes on. And not to mention, you're probably going to add a really talented guy to other teams, that are part of the AFC that need a franchise quarterback. I mean, you got to even throw Tua Tagovailoa in there as well. So the NFC don't really have too many, world-beating quarterbacks here. I mean, what you got looking at? Dak Prescott, like is he a needle mover? Not really. I mean, he's good, but he average at best at times when it matters most. Jalen Hurts. He's a little bit above average. Kirk Cousins, as of right now, even though he might end up going somewhere else. Like, what quarterbacks in the NFC do you look at and be like, man, if the Saints play them, man, it might be a long day. Not too many of them. Like, any quarterback in the NFC, the Saints have a chance of beating, and they can neutralize, in my opinion. So I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance to have a really good record, but it all comes down to the coaching. It all comes down to the players staying healthy, and it all comes down to execution. If they can do all those things, then as you can see with the Detroit Lions, all you have to do is get off in that thing, right? All you have to do is get off in that thing, and if you have a really good running game and you got some really good defense, you can go far. Or, as Hoodie Jews say, lower your expectations. I mean, you got to win something. It just comes down to that. Like, I don't get excited anymore about players and coaching additions. I just don't. Because this team has really just showed over the last couple of years that no matter who they bring in, they have an issue when it comes to sustaining levels of success. So I'm not one of those people that just looking at this like, well, man, they brought in Andrew Janoko. Oh, they brought in Clint Kubiak. Oh, they brought in Rick Dennison. They brought in Derrick Foster. Like, man, we're going to win something. Look, I don't know what this team is going to be. So my expectations are very, very moderate. Not the fact that I don't feel like this team has the capability of winning. We wouldn't be here, and it wouldn't hurt us as much when they lose if we felt like this team was just hopeless. The reason why we feel the way that we do is because we know that this team is talented. And it's frustrating to us that we're watching this team basically stumble all over itself time after time again when they have such young, promising talent. It's frustrating. And, but my expectations are extremely moderate, no matter who they bring in, because it all comes down to Dennis Allen. And Dennis Allen really, honestly, hasn't shown that he has what it takes to be a head coach in the National Football League. Saying that you're 9-8 and it's a winning season, like, you didn't make the playoffs. And honestly, it was one of the easiest schedules in the league. I understand that you got to play the teams that you have on your schedule, but it was a relatively easy schedule. So if you're going 9-8 with a pretty simplistic schedule, like, what did you really achieve? So this guy has something to prove. Like, you can't just look past that. I don't care who they bring in. You can't just look past. Let's see. Do you think TJ Jameis Winston coming back, or do you think the Saints draft another quarterback in a draft or get a second string quarterback in free agency? That's a good question, Brian. As far as I know, I think that Jameis Winston, I think he loves New Orleans. It's pretty obvious. I mean, everybody's seen the Mardi Gras footage. But if he wants to really get a fair shot at being a starting quarterback in the league, he's probably going to have to go somewhere else where somebody is really going to give him a chance to be a starter in the league. But if I look around the NFL and I look around the National Football League, what team is really going to give him a legit chance at being a quarterback? You got to look at it. I mean, let's start with the South. I mean, the Falcons. I mean, I don't think the Falcons will give him a fair chance to be a starting quarterback, especially like you got a brand new head coach and Raheem Morris coming in. I expect for the Atlanta Falcons with the 8th pick to probably get themselves a quarterback. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we don't know what they're going to do with Baker Mayfield. More than likely, they'll probably sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, and they'll probably draft the guy. I mean, I heard reports that they were excited about what they saw in Michael Penix Jr., so that might be a pick for them. You look at the Carolina Panthers. They got Bryce Young. They weren't willing to give up on Bryce Young just yet. I mean, you got Daniel Canales out there. You know, he's the new head coach. So they got him because of what he did with Baker Mayfield. NFC North. I mean, you look at the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what they're going to do with Kirk Cousins, but based on their record, they might end up trying to get Bo Nix or some of those other quarterbacks that they have out there. We see with the Chicago Bears, you got Justin Fields. The question is, are they going to trade Justin Fields, or are they going to draft Caleb Williams with the first pick overall? The Detroit Lions, they're happy with Jared Goff. The Green Bay Packers are happy with Jordan Love. Let's look at the NFC West. Brock Purdy played pretty good. I don't think the 49ers are willing to give up on him, even though they lost the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks, they just told Geno Smith that they're going to pick up that $12.7 million that he have. The Rams, you still got Matthew Stafford, and he still has something left in the tank. The Arizona Cardinals, maybe they'll try to use him as a backup. Kyler Murray still is out there, and they probably feel like he still has something left in the tank. He was coming off an ACL tear, so they may have just looked at this as like a rehabilitation year. I mean, look at the AFC West. I mean, come on, give me a freaking break here. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Justin Herbert. We know that the Denver Broncos, they want themselves a quarterback. They're being reported to be aggressively trying to move up and trying to make some trades in order for them to be able to get in a position to draft a high quality quarterback. Maybe the Las Vegas Raiders, but I mean, I'm not even sure about that. So many different. I can do this all day, all night. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers satisfied with Kenny Pickett as their quarterback? Joe Burrow, we know he ain't going nowhere. Lamar Jackson, we know he ain't going nowhere. Deshaun Watson, he ain't going nowhere. So how many places do you see from, how many places do you see Jameis Winston going to? I don't see too many. So this might be there might be a strong chance that Jameis Winston may end up being back in New Orleans as a backup quarterback. But I will say this, it might be hurtful to Derrick Carr as long as Jameis Winston is here. Like, I know some people may not like Jameis Winston. Some people feel like, oh, he just a turnover machine. But this guy is embracing New Orleans, and we all know. And I say this all the time. If you love New Orleans, it will love you back. If you good to New Orleans, it will be good to you back. And him going out there in the community and him being a part of the community and him not being beyond reproach and him walking around like, just a regular pedestrian that doesn't have millions upon millions of dollars and wasn't the first overall pick and a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, people like that. And anybody that's from New Orleans knows that we don't like snobs. We don't like people that just think that they are full of themselves. We don't like phonies. That's the reason why, people still to this day talk about Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater all in the 7 and 8 ward that playing flag football on a Thursday when he got a game on a Sunday. Like, when you ingratiate yourself into the New Orleans community, they're going to show love to you. So this might be a concern for Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, as far as Derek Carr's ego, because if you did a poll right now and asked who do you like most out of Jameis Winston and Derek Carr, a lot of people might pick Jameis Winston over Derek Carr right now. So there's a chance that he might be able to come back, but we all know that it's about results, and the Saints may look at this like they don't want to have an issue like they did last year when Derek Carr started to struggle. People were clamoring for Jameis Winston to play, and maybe they don't want that. So maybe they'll decide to, promote Jake Hayner as their backup quarterback, allow Jameis Winston to maybe test the free agent waters and move on from Jameis Winston. Thanks for streaming during my break. Been loving this offensive overhaul, but I need to see execution next season. Who that? Bruce saying thank you very much. Yeah, look, the proof is in the pudding. Like, you can talk about all the moves and you can get all excited about the moves that they making, and that's cool. But man, we got to see this thing get put together. I mean, I'm tired of just, man, you seen they went and signed Jarvis Landry? Man, you seen they went and signed the Honey Badger? Like you seen they signed Marcus May and done absolutely nothing. Don't make the playoffs. Don't capitalize on the signings. I need to see this thing in action. TJ, is Bleacher Report tripping, saying the Ravens are interested in Alvin Kamara by trade for a 7th-round draft pick? Look, let me tell you something about Bleacher Report, all right? Shouts out to Bleacher Report. Everybody knows that, I am with Bleacher Report now, which is an honor. Like, it's freaking surreal that this happened, but I mean, I got called for what it is. One thing about Bleacher Report is You know, they like people who are very, very vocal, and they like people that have like different strong opinions about certain things, even when some of those opinions can be kind of way out there in left field a little bit. And anybody that thinks that Alvin Kamara is just worth a 7th-round pick is sadly mistaken. Which leads me to my next point that I want to talk about. And I want to talk about Alvin Kamara because you got a lot of people that are part of the Who Dat Nation that feel that Alvin Kamara is washed. And I'm telling you right now, that is so far from the truth till it is absolutely ridiculous. Alvin Kamara is not washed. Alvin Kamara still has a lot to offer. And I just don't understand. I don't understand this Who Dat Nation. I do not understand this. How can we sit up here and talk about a player and talk about how they washed, but we will sit up here for hours and talk about, man, this coaching staff, they terrible. Man, this coaching staff, man, they ain't making the right move. They ain't executing right. Why are you calling this? Why are you calling that? Why are you not calling this? Why are you not calling that? How is it that we can be critical of this coaching staff and not realize that a coaching staff can be responsible for holding a player back? We watched this with Christian McCaffrey. Everybody thought that Chris McCaffrey was on his way out when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Between the fact that he was injured and missed maybe 20 some odd games in, I don't know, 3 seasons, everybody just thought that Chris McCaffrey was basically washed. And when he got traded to the 49ers, they were like, yeah, he might give you a little something, but he on borrowed time. Look at Christian McCaffrey now. This man was the offensive player of the year. He had over 150 yards from scrimmage in the Super Bowl. This man scored a touchdown damn near every week. So why is it that we can sit up here and talk about coaches, but we cannot just realize that the coaching could be responsible for a player not really living up to their potential? And I look at Alvin Kamara, look at the way that they are utilizing him. We've said this over and over and over again. How many calls have we had? How many comments have we had about Alvin Kamara being used like he's Earl Campbell or Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson, running him up the middle, not really being creative when it comes to him? When he was with Sean Payton was cooking it up. He had him going on wheel routes. He had him going on screen routes. He had him going on angle routes. He was lining them up on the outside. He was a part of the passing game as well as the running game. You seen stretch plays, toss plays, right? As well as him running up the middle. With P. Carmichael, it was very, very simplistic. And some of the things that made Alvin Kamara special, you notice the Saints just stopped using. So how is it that you can just sit up here and just say that the guy is washed and not look at the fact that the Saints were not utilizing him like they did in years past? If Alvin Kamara gets with a creative, innovative offensive coach, and hopefully Clint Kubiak is that guy, you will see a different Alvin Kamara. And I posted this on social media, and I'm not shying away from it. Pin and injury, I guarantee you, with Clint Kubiak, Alvin Kamara will be in the Offensive Player of the Year conversation, or he might win the Offensive Player of the Year. Because I'm telling you, go back and watch some of those games. And and some of you may not even realize this. When Sean Payton used to talk about Alvin Kamara, he talked about Alvin Kamara being a very, very special talent, but the one thing that, he has to do is constantly challenge Alvin Kamara and constantly keep him involved, because his mind can start wandering or he can become disinterested. So he got to kind of keep him focused. And you look at Alvin Kamara, I mean, it's just human nature. You hand the ball off to your running back and you basically running up the legs of your offensive lineman because he can push back. Like, you keep doing that stuff over and over again. Eventually, you can have the strongest will in the world. You're going to get frustrated. And I think a lot of what we see from Alvin Kamara was coming from frustration and feeling like this offense is not being utilized correctly and they don't utilize him correctly. And you can say, oh, man, well, he's a football player. He should suck it up. But that's just with anything in life. Like, if you feel like the odds are stacked against you, how motivated are you going to be doing that particular thing, right? If let's just say, for example, if you go to a carnival, right, and you're shooting a basketball and the basketball they give you is much bigger or almost as big as the hoop, right? And you're trying to shoot it in. And you realize the only way that you're going to make this, you basically got to angle it right and drop it right in. Or even if you do that, it might rim out. Are you going to keep on giving your money? Man, $5. Man, some of y'all do because y'all probably uber competitive like that. But if you kind of size the thing up, you'll realize that, man, this is just a waste of my time. It's a chance I might do it, but there's a really strong chance that I won't. And I just feel like the guy became unmotivated. He wasn't motivated. He was not motivated at all to do anything. And he basically just kind of did his job, handled his business because he realized that what they were doing wasn't working. Y'all may not want to hear that. Some people might look at that and make it sound like, oh, TJ, you just making excuses for Alvin. No, I am not. Go back and watch Alvin Kamara from 2017 to 2020 and go look at him from 2021 to the present and tell me that the Saints are utilizing him the same way. Tell me the opportunities that he had are still presenting themselves. Now, you might find one or two plays or maybe even a few in between. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to use this guy the way that he needs to be used in order for him to be effective. And as long as the New Orleans Saints don't do that, then people are going to feel like Alvin Kamara is washed. They're going to feel like Alvin Kamara ain't good enough. They're going to feel like Alvin Kamara should be traded. But I don't. I just feel like Alvin Kamara hasn't been motivated in the last couple of years because he may not say it, but I'll say it for him. I don't think he's been happy with the offense. Because if you look at Alvin also in some of those interviews, especially when they questioned him about Michael Thomas tweeting different comments in that Minnesota game, he didn't say he necessarily disagreed with Michael Thomas's comments about the play calling. He didn't. He did not. So I just want to put that little nugget out there. I think it's bigger than football with Jameis. His love for community says a lot. Maybe God has a bigger plan for him. Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he does. And Jameis Winston may not ever, get a fair shake or another opportunity to be a consistent starter in the National Football League. But it doesn't seem like he allows that type of stuff to get the best of him, which I can appreciate, because maybe he realizes that there's more in life than just football. And he loves the game of football, but I mean, we all know that sometimes, football can be a cruel business, especially like if you don't go out there from the jump and go out there and perform. I mean, look at Steve Wilkes. I mean, do y'all think that that's fair? The fact that, he was used as a scapegoat, being fired as the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. When we watched Dan Quinn, who's supposed to have a really good defense in Dallas, get carved up by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And what did they do? Did he get fired after his team had double-digit wins and a number 2 seed? Nah. He became the head coach of the Washington Commanders. So we all know that there's some hypocrisy going on around here, and some things and some practices are not fair. But he doesn't allow those things to get to him, and that's how you should operate, And I think as long as he operates like that, he should be okay. TJ, I don't know if you game, but they just announced they're dropping NCAA 25 this summer. I hope it's better than Madden. Well, those college football games are always better than Madden, Mirror. And yeah, I saw it and I actually retweeted it. But yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I've always been a huge college football fan. I've always been a huge college football. I still play it, man. I got Xbox 360 up in here. I still play it from time to time. I'm one of those people that take like bad football teams, like they have like 1 star and turn them into a powerhouse. Like I took Marshall. They started off at like a 1 star. Akron started off at 1 star, and I just started to like recruit and stuff. Just win them. The hardest thing about it is you got to basically win every game in order for you to, get better recruiting. So you got to stink for a couple of years. But I always enjoy playing college football. And that is my favorite. That's my favorite game of all time, and I'm glad that it's coming back. And I'm definitely gonna be in that number when that game come out. When is the Super Bowl coming in New Orleans next year? Are you going to go down there and tailgate? I don't know about tailgating, but hopefully, I have, I'm in enough of the NFL's good graces that I can actually get an opportunity to go to New Orleans, and be able to be a part of that Super Bowl experience. Right now, I mean, I'm hoping that I can be able to go to the combine. I'll find out in a couple of days. Basically, what they do is, they send you, if you're members of the media, if your credentials, I guess, line up with what they're doing, which, I mean, I feel like it should. I mean, I was able to go last year, but you know, there's a few things that you can go to. There's some things that you can't. And so hopefully, I get accepted to the Super Bowl and be able to go down there. And if not, then, I'm from New Orleans. So I can always post up somewhere and be able to do shows from there because of fine folks like you. Brian Pearson, I hope I can do that. Bears released safety Eddie Jackson, maybe a good pickup for us. I like the Clint move. I think it'll be an upgrade, but it's like rims on a minivan with AC QB combo. Bucks with Baker 9-8 or ceiling. Yeah, I mean, look, I always like Eddie Jackson. I mean, he's always been like one of the best, safeties in the game. I haven't really heard from him, that much. I mean, I know I'm looking up his stats right now. He's 30 years old. I mean, he's a well-respected safety in the league. I mean, really, decorated. He was a first-team All-Pro back in 2018. He's a two-time Pro Bowler. 100 greatest Bears of all time, which is an honor. Like if you mention among any, great Chicago Bear, that's an honor right there because, I mean, especially all the great defensive players they've had. So, yeah, if he has something left in the tank, that's fine. But I'm more. I feel I'm looking at if the Saints try to get somebody like Buda Baker or something. Like I don't know if Buda Baker's gonna get re-signed by the Arizona Cardinals, or he might go somewhere else where they're gonna give him top dollar. But if you're gonna go safety, you might want to go a little bit younger because Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu, they already in their 30s. So adding another 30-year-old safety, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I think that he's talented, but I think you might want to go a little bit younger at that position. TJ, what do you think about the Saints drafting Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman with their first round pick? He would be a great pickup, especially if they don't bring Michael Thomas back. Yeah, I mean, Keon Coleman, it would be a really good pickup for the New Orleans Saints, but I feel like the Saints have a bigger fish to fry. Now, this could be one of those situations where the Saints throw Clint Kubiak a bone, and allow him to have offensive play in the first round. But I just think that looking at what the Saints have been doing, it seems like they're going to put a lot of emphasis on the running game this year. So I'm looking for the New Orleans Saints to possibly draft the offensive lineman in the first round. I mean, all signs are basically lining up for them to get an offensive lineman in the first round. So that's the way I look at it. Wouldn't be mad at it, but based on what the Saints have and what they need, Keon Coleman would be considered a luxury at this point. We don't need a wide receiver in the first. I am not a college ball fan, but I say that we need an offensive line. Yeah, and I think that's where the Saints are going to go. And why we don't like Carr. I don't know, man. I think that a lot of people, if I can just put my finger on it, I would say that most people don't really care for Derek Carr because he kind of comes off as disingenuous at times. Like he's one of those people that seem like they just basically say the right things just to say the right things, or kind of like borderline politicky. I feel like that's the reason why. I think that some people just feel like he's beyond reproach. Some people may feel like he walks around as if he won something and didn't. And I don't feel like, he really ingratiated himself into this culture, and I think that's the big issue right there. And not to mention, you have Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis and all those other guys, those that are higher ups that are really in his corner, and they kind of like cater to him a little bit. So people may feel like, that's a real, that's a real no, and that's a real no-go right there. So I think the combination of those things could possibly be why people don't really, they haven't really embraced him. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, we all seen a float in New Orleans, right? But I mean, seeing what the red zone zombie float. I mean, that pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, I ain't never seen a float disrespecting Drew Brees. I ain't never seen a float disrespecting any other uh, player or coach. Like maybe I ain't been alive that long. Maybe some of y'all throughout the years seen maybe a Jim Mara float or I don't know a Mike Dicker float. Maybe y'all seen that, but I ain't never seen anything like that. A part of me thinks is genuinely him, and another part thinks it's about let me see, good PR and making Carr look bad by him not doing suck and make DA look bad. I guess look back by being a backstabbing jerk. Well, I don't know, man. I don't think that's it. If I can kind of interpret what you're trying to say, no cap, I don't think that it is. Like if you look at Tampa Bay fans, and I mean we seen this, man. When Jameis Winston first was signed, no cap, we seen a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shouts out to my boy T. Smitty. You got individuals like him, that will chime in and call in, a comment and say, they like Jameis Winston. They hoping that Jameis Winston does well. They rooting for him. And you got a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans that still like this dude, love this dude to this day. So I just think that he's just an infectious guy. I don't feel like he's just doing this stuff just to get PR. I don't feel like he's doing this just so he can be in the good graces and make Derek Carr look bad. I think it's genuinely him. I do. I think it's genuinely him because that's not going to help you get on a football team. It's not. It's not going to help you. It's not going to be like, man, we seen Jameis Winston at Mardi Gras. He was out there. He was a man of the people. Let's sign this guy. Like, it's not going to do that. Like, it's about the results. It's about how you balling out. It's about winning games. So just because he's out there within with the people, don't mean that that's going to get him a job. What he does on the field is going to get him a job, but I don't think it's to make Derek Carr look bad. If anybody's hating on Derek Carr, I mean, honestly, he did a good enough job for people to have their reservations without Jameis Winston making them look bad. Do you think it's hurts Jameis stock when other teams that had last game was the Packers choke? Do you think it hurts Jameis stock with other teams that his last game was the Packers choke? No, I don't think so. I don't think that it was it hurt him because I mean he came in a game with a little under like maybe a few minutes left in the third quarter or something. Like, nah, I don't think so. And honestly don't feel like they choked. Like if you look at the Saints offense during that time, no matter if it was Derek Carr or Jameis Winston, they couldn't move the football because the offense was terrible. Right? I mean, it didn't matter who it was. See, we have a tendency of believing that, if a quarterback comes in, he's coming in, if he ain't out here throwing 2 and 3 touchdowns, like, man, we need to start watching. And I'm not saying this to you, J Bags, but I'm just saying in general, we need to start watching these football movies where the guy just comes off the bench and all of a sudden, like, he lighting it up for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, it don't work like that. Like, how many quarterbacks you seen, like, come off the bench and just light it up? Like, I ain't really see that, right? Because most of the time, they're not getting the majority of the reps. They're not really, warmed up. And that team basically spent the entire week with the starting quarterback. And most of the time, if you have like a backup, it might be a guy that you recently signed or a guy that kind of came off the practice squad because somebody got injured. I mean, it's something like that. So I don't think that it hurts him. I think people know what Jameis Winston is. So they have their reservations about him. I don't think DA going to let Jameis come back because of pride. That 2-point conversion thing and fans chanting for Jameis probably going to make them want to part ways. Hope not, though. Well, I already said that. And I'm going to say this, based on Jameis Winston being a backup, why not? Right? Why not? If nobody is going to give him a starting job, why not bring him back? Because I mean, you have a guy who has had a lot of starts in the National Football League, and then you have a guy who has a lot of game experience, right? So why not bring him back? But yeah, I feel like when it comes to Dennis Allen this season, I think that you're going to see, and we're going to get to that point, but I think you're going to see a lot of changes from familiar people that within his organization who he loves. Because I think now what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this team more DA friendly. And I think with Michael Thomas and his comments, I think he's going to be gone. The issues that with Lattimore, maybe they'll shop him around. I don't know. But it just seems to me like they want to maybe make this culture more DA friendly. I think that there was a lot of backlash because you have a lot of players on this team that have won a lot. Rather, they won Super Bowls with other teams, or the fact that they found a lot of success with the New Orleans Saints during the Peyton era. So they feel like, well, we used to do this right here, and we was winning 13 games. We did this right here, and we was the 2 seed. We did this, and we went to the divisional round, the NFC Championship game. So when you have a coach that hasn't won anything, that hasn't done anything, like that warrants him like just undeniable respect. As long as you don't have that, you're gonna have players that think that they know better. So maybe by getting rid of like some of those guys that were part of that, they'll probably bring in younger guys that don't know anything, right? Don't really have any experience and don't know anything other than Dennis Allen. So maybe Dennis Allen message may seem like, something of, motivation or something of inspiration. Like, but when you come in, to an organization, you brand new, you just excited at the opportunity. But when you're a guy like Colin Sanders who won a Super Bowl, when you're a guy like Tyrann Mathieu who won a Super Bowl, when you're a guy like, Cam Jordan who's, been on a, threshold of the Super Bowl, constantly going to the playoffs, Michael Thomas, Offensive Player of the Year, Marshawn Lattimore, a well-respected lockdown cornerback. Like, it's kind of hard to be able to listen to a guy that hasn't won anything. And, how do you get respect from your players is by, being successful, putting them in the best position to succeed. When you don't, then people going to wonder like, man, why are we listening to you? So maybe they'll go get more DA friendly type guys. But I don't see him coming back though. I honestly, I see him coming back only if he goes out there, nobody wants him, and the Saints just sign him as a backup. Me too, TJ. I'm keeping my expectations under the couch until they show me. I think a lot of people feel that way. Let me scroll down a little bit. Says, I think if Alvin wouldn't have got suspended, he would have had a better year. I don't know, man. This offense was pretty bad, and I don't think it really catered to Alvin that much. So I don't know how much 3 games would have benefited him. Said they already had the trailer out of college football game 25. It came out today. They said they'll talk more about it in May. Yeah, I guess they just basically put that trailer out to eliminate all the rumors that the game wasn't going to come out. Of course, they had stuff about EA Sports being under investigation for the NIL stuff. So a lot of people were just wondering, was it going to come out? Will it come out? Should it come out? Y'all know how it go, man. But that was pretty much them saying, yeah, it's true, it's coming. It says Alvin Kamara equals Christian McCaffrey, Taysom Hill, Debo Samuel, Juwan Johnson, George Kittle, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Jennings, and Kendra Miller, Kyle Juszczyk. I don't know about all that, man. I really don't. And I ask people, cool sports, and I appreciate this, but I just want people to kind of pump their brakes on that kind of stuff. Like I know when we start seeing coaches or we start seeing players, we look for similarities. But for me, I'm not looking for this team to be the San Francisco 49ers. I just want to see this team look better. I just want to see this team do better. Honestly, I don't want the like comparing these guys to me. I don't like. They're talented guys in San Francisco, but There's some talented guys in New Orleans too, and they don't need to be like Brandon Ayuk. They don't need to be like Kittle. And to be honest with you, Juwan Johnson is not George Kittle. Like George Kittle is a completely different beast. Like Juwan Johnson just learned how to block last year. You look at Christian McCaffrey, I can see some similarities when it comes to Alvin Kamara, but I just feel like, we basically put those expectations too high when we start to look for those type of similarities. And cool sports, when we don't see them, then we find ourselves being disappointed. But we have to ask ourselves, like, did they give us those expectations, or did we create them ourselves and we set ourselves up for disappointment? So we got to be careful with that. I'm not asking for them to be like that. But what I am asking for is for them to be much better and for them to be more creative, with however that may be. Now, if they end up looking like the 49ers, that's great. But to me, they don't have to be the 49ers. Just be better than what you've been for the last 2 seasons. Let's see. Best thing was the recruiting, talking trash about rival schools, inviting players to the campus, etc. Yeah, that's the best part of NCAA. And hopefully they bring it back. And hopefully they have HBCUs in that game, because towards the end, when they stopped making NCAA, they didn't have HBCUs. Right, so I don't know what the heck happened with that. So hopefully EA Sports put HBCUs in this game, because during that time everybody was loving HBCUs and give HBCUs a chance. And if you give HBCUs the talent, they'll knock it out the park. They'll just be just as successful. Like, okay, y'all saying all that stuff, but okay, give these HBCU players an opportunity to see themselves in these video games. I'm pretty sure if they're giving out $2,300 checks for, being a part of the game, I'm pretty sure those HBCU players would be happy to get those little checks, right? Because we know those schools don't really have the money to be able to give these guys the things that they need. So getting a $2,300 stipend or $3,000 stipend from EA Sports can be really helpful to those young guys. That's what's up, bro. I do the same thing, like to build up the smaller teams with college football. Yeah, man, it's more fun. Like, playing with LSU and, playing with Clemson and USC and all that, like, you're going to win. And you're going to get those top recruits. But I think it's more challenging, like, when you going with some of the mid-major schools and winning games with them, and turning them into a powerhouse. That's pretty cool. Let's see, like Jameis or not, dude is really a starting quarterback in this league. Look, I think he deserves a chance, but I've been covering the NFL long enough to know that when the league has a reputation about you, when you have a reputation, it's kind of hard to shake. If the fans won't let you, or the team won't let you, and a lot of what the team do is fan driven. And we know that all it takes is one well-known talking head to talk down about a player. And the next thing you know, that narrative is going to be at every barbershop. It's going to be on every social media timeline. Like, because most people don't really do research for themselves. Look, I'm talking about who I'm talking about. If I ain't talking about you, I ain't talking about you. But a lot of people, and with a lot of things that I see a lot of people mimicking stuff that I probably hear on Monday Morning Quarterback. And that's why I encourage everybody, not even to listen to me. Like yesterday, I think I did a show yesterday. I'm talking about Shaq Davis playing for the Saints. This man with the Philadelphia Eagles for about a month. So, I mean, of course, what I'm saying, I'm going to make mistakes and say things too. So I'm asking everybody to, do their own research, to do their own research about these different things. It's just because people say it don't necessarily mean it's accurate or factual. It's people giving their assessment and their opinions about things. So, I think that when you develop a reputation, it's hard for you to shake in the National Football League. And it's hard for Jameis to shake that whole 30 for 30 thing, because that happened, back in 2018? So, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that's like 6 seasons ago, and they still talking about it. 2 words to tell Dennis and Mickey, Amy Trask. Well, I mean, look, we'll see. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button, yo. Mira, I appreciate that. Please hit the like and subscribe button, yo. I mean, where are we at? 10,720 subscribers or something like that. And I know we have way more people that tune into this show. And I think some people just watch it but don't subscribe. I just ask everybody to subscribe. If you watch the State of the Saints consistently, like, hit the subscribe button. Let's say outside of Cam, the current Saints leaders haven't seen many losing seasons, so they aren't going to just fall in line when the L's are piling up. Yeah, I mean, even with Demario Davis, I mean, he came over from the Jets. They weren't winning too many games, but I mean, he's been with the Saints since what, 2017, like 2016 or something like that. 2016 or I want to say what, 2017, maybe. I think he came to the New Orleans Saints, because I can remember it was a game the Saints played the Jets and Demario Davis was all over the field. That was the game where Michael Thomas should have had like 3 touchdowns, but he kept on putting one foot in bounds, couldn't get the second foot down. Should have had like 3 touchdowns in that game. So I don't know if it was like 20. I want to say it was maybe 2017 he came to the Saints. Somebody look that up and let me know. But I think he may have came to the Saints like 2017. I said 2015. He came in 2015? He came in 2015? Man, wow. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. He's been there that long. I thought he was playing for I thought it. No, 2018. Okay, he came in 2018. I'm about to say, I know it had to. Yeah, he came in 2018. I just looked it up. So he came to the Saints in 2018, because I can remember that game. I'm talking about Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas should have had like 3 touchdowns in that game, but he kept on stepping out of bounds. Yeah, so I knew it had to be like 2017, 2018 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, he really doesn't know that much about losing either, like, since he's been with the Saints. I mean, he was with the Browns and the Jets, so he knows something about it, but not since he's been with the Saints. TJ, what are your expectations of wide receiver room to look like next year? I think we should pursue Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I mean, I think the Saints need to go with a seasoned veteran, but not a guy that's going to demand the ball that much. A guy that can probably give you something, maybe move the needle a little bit, but not ask him that much, And I mentioned, like, on a Bleacher Report, and I'm standing by this, and I know some people don't like it, but I wouldn't mind the Saints signing Odell Beckham Jr. To the squad. At this stage of his career, like, he's not a number one anymore, and I think he understands that. Like, when Zay Flowers was eating, when Rashad Bateman was eating, he was just happy to do his part. And I think that, looking at him and, him on the sidelines, man, when Baltimore lost and, he was over there like whispering positive energy into like Zay Flowers is. Zay Flowers was so upset, had opportunity to score, tried to launch. Of course, we know he fumbled the football, went into the end zone for a touchback. So, I mean, he was providing like leadership. And, to me, maybe that could be like one of those things where, he's won a Super Bowl, he's made a lot of money. So maybe this can be one of those situations where, he comes to New Orleans for a nostalgia act and maybe, be able to play for the hometown team. I don't know for sure, but I just feel like looking at a guy like Calvin Ridley is a number one still. I don't feel like Jacksonville utilized him the way that they should have. But I just think that when you're talking about Calvin Ridley, I think he's looking for being a number one wide receiver. And I just don't think that the Saints need that. I think you have that in Chris Olave. I think you have a promising receiver in Rashid Shaheed. So I think that you need a seasoned veteran that can provide leadership, maybe a winning pedigree where he can kind of, tell these young guys what it takes to win, all the while, being able to kind of just do their part, not really being a part of the offense like some of these other receivers are, number one and number two, but still provide some level of a spark when necessary. TJ, who do you think the Saints will draft first? To me, I think they're gonna go with Faaga out of Oregon State. I think they're gonna go. Offensive line. I really do. I look at this team. I look at what they're bringing in. I look at the coaching staff that they're bringing in. I think they're trying to put an emphasis on the run. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get this offensive lineman Fuaga out of Oregon State. I mean, a lot of draft boards are saying it, but I'm pretty confident that they're going offensive line. DeMario is a straight beast. That's the truth. It says, I never seen ownership go above and beyond for a coach and his quarterback that have won nothing in this league is just mind blowing. Yeah, I don't know, man. He was saying that a lot of people was whispering when Sean Payton was the coach, when the Saints had down years in 2007, 2008. But I don't think it was as loud as it was with Dennis Allen. Like, I think with Sean Payton was a relatively, well, he wasn't relatively, he was a new head coach at the time. He never had a head coaching job. But the Saints fans that were really just saying, oh, they need to let him go, Saints fans that really didn't know a damn thing about ball, why would you let go of a coach that gave you the most success you ever had as a franchise in his first year? Like, why would you even be thinking like that? So, people that was talking like that, I don't want to talk football with him. But I think what the thing about with Dennis Allen, he was the fact that he already came in with an 8-28 record as a head coach. So when he loses, it is magnified, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's huge that because of his losing pedigree. So when he loses, it's amplified. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's put under a microscope. You know what I'm saying? Everybody looking at it like, man, what's going on here? So you gotta look at it for what it is, right? You gotta look at it for what it is. So yeah, but I think a lot of people have their reservations about DA because he was a loser. He didn't win many games when he was the head coach of the Raiders, and that's in the back of people's mind. Just like what I mentioned with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston threw those 30 touchdowns, 30 picks, and now no matter what he does, if he turns the ball over, makes a mistake, people just mind roll back to that. A.T. Perry's spot if Thomas is not available in 2024. I agree with that. I still want to see what he can do. I think that he's promising, but you got to show it. Can't just go into camp and looking at PFF and be like, man, they say I'm the next guy up. I'll pull that up a breakout year. Like, well, go prove it out there on the field. Outside of Granderson, don't trust the defensive ends on the team. Need a solid mid-tier free agent and a day 3 pick. Don't trust a day 1. Yeah. Unless it's Jared versus Dallas Turner. If you can get one of those guys, look, I'm all for it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you got some guys out there. I mean, you got Danielle Hunter out there. You got Leonard Williams, just to name a couple off the bat. Those are guys that could actually come in. I mentioned a trade scenario that could bring Khalil Mack to New Orleans. I mean, he's on the last year of his deal with the Chargers. So maybe he'll be inspired to play like, he's looking for a big contract. You also have Chase Young. Don't know what the 49ers are going to do with him. I'm pretty sure they'll probably re-sign him since they don't have to worry about signing a quarterback because Brock Purdy is making less than $1 million a year. So maybe they'll decide to bring him back, maybe not. So there's some guys out there that they can look at, that are promising. But hopefully, Brian Brzee, he can step it up going into year 2. Peyton Turner's still there. I don't know what he's going to do. Hasn't done anything for the most part except, be hurt over the last couple of years. So, yeah, I think that you should, take a look at pass rush, maybe in the second round. We'll see, but I think they're going to go offensive line in the first. Let's see. We need Jared edge rushing Florida State at 14. We cannot pass him up. If he's dead, I think the Saints need to select him. TJ, are you cool with going after Tyron Smith for the left tackle spot? Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned that on a Bleacher Report on yesterday's live stream. I mentioned that. I said Tyron Smith would be a really good cornerstone guy. A guy that can come in until you if you draft a young guy who probably needs some work, somebody that probably needs to develop, probably not ready to be a day 1 starter, get in a guy like Tyron Smith. But that's only if you can't get the tackle or the offensive lineman that you want in the first round. Like that should be like the alternative. Or if Dallas Turner or Jerry versus there and you decide to go with them. TJ, why did the Saints hire DA for both the head coach and defensive coordinator? Was it about the money? No, they didn't hire him as the head coach and coordinator. he has a defensive coordinator, is Joe Woods. Joe Woods is the defensive coordinator of the Saints. But just like Pete Carmichael was the offensive coordinator of the Saints throughout the years, Sean Payton called the plays. Joe Woods is the defensive coordinator, and Dennis Allen calls the plays. So he has a defensive coordinator. You just don't really talk about him that much because DA calls the plays during the game. So, yeah, but they have a coordinator. 33 touchdowns. I guess you're talking about Jameis Winston on that. Thank you, Smooth. I'm sick of the dragging for 30 interceptions, but no credit for the 33 touchdowns, not 30 for 30. Sick as hell of that. Yeah, I just think that you need to let it go. Like I think that people are going to, continue to talk about it. But I don't know. I just think that guys they need opportunity to be able to, get better and redeem themselves. And, until then, like I don't feel like that should be held, and put on around a guy's neck like an albatross or something. Yet they forget Jameis threw 5,033 touchdowns. Those are MVP type numbers minus the picks. How's the guy who can do that a bum, as some people would call him? Well, it's because that's the way people like look at it. And once again, it goes back to what I'm saying. Like people's narrative are basically manufactured. Not everybody, but there's a strong percentage of individuals whose thoughts are not really their own and they don't even realize that, right? I mean, they have been gaslit and don't even realize it because, they crack so many jokes about Jameis Winston, rather, his funny analogies, things, that words that probably don't go where he normally puts them. Like they'll make these jokes about him, and they'll make people believe that, man, this guy's a clown or this guy's a joke or anything like that. So by putting that information out there or making a guy look as if he's a joke or people need to laugh at him every time he's on screen, it makes people just think, oh man, this guy ain't serious. So, he ain't never gonna be nothing. So that's the way I look at it. A lot of these thoughts and feelings are manufactured. Like people are like, well, he threw 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. But, they don't talk about nothing else that he did prior to that. Like the guy, didn't throw 30 interceptions like every season or something like that. That was just one bad season, where he was just trying to throw the ball up and they threw the ball quite a bit. And if you're throwing for 5,000 yards, that tells me right there, you were losing a lot of games. You had to throw yourself back into them. Or you had like no emphasis on the running game whatsoever. But that's when, you understand the game. But some people just understand talking heads and they want to sound like the smartest person in the room. So they go to barbershops and basically mimic what they hear every morning on some of these sports shows. But once again, I encourage everybody to seek their own truth. Don't look at other people's truth. Don't masquerade other people's truth and try to make it your own. Find your own truth. Like, don't even listen to me. Don't even listen to me. Don't even take my word for it. I appreciate everybody, that do that, and watch this show. I really do appreciate it. I'm not saying don't watch the show. Please do. But, seek your own truth. Don't just look for anybody else, to find it for you. TJ, when you got Cam Jordan saying we need a culture shock, that speaks volumes that they're not bought in. Yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes. And, it's good that he said that because, I mean, whether he said it or not, I think we all know that this team needs a culture change. TJ, what do you think the Saints will do with Jake Haener? I think they're going to keep him. And I like Jake Haener, man. I think that Jake Haener, there's something there. At least you need to see what is there. People is like, man, you know what? It's just preseason. It's just preseason, man. Look at him, man. He out there, man. It's preseason. He's going up against. But who else he's going to go up against? He's not going to play. So that's the only thing that you can actually, judge him on is what he did in preseason. I didn't get that. Like when I put the comment up about Jake Haener and getting the opportunity on X, people were like, man, look what he playing against people that's working at LA Fitness. And I'm like, yeah, probably. But that's all you can judge him on. And I think you've seen something there. He made some really good throws. He had some really good touch on his throws. And he already came into the league as an accurate quarterback, completing 70% of his passes. So there you go. I'm gonna read a few more and then we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. It says need to keep Hayner has a quicker release and recognition, and yeah, and looking at Carr and Winston. Look, all I know is when it comes to Jake Hayner. I apologize. I'm trying to look at my phone and trying to talk at the same time. But nah, when it comes to Jake Hayner, I think that he's a smart player. They talked about how he was able to pick up the playbook quickly. He was able to like kind of break down plays and everything like that. I think that he has something there. He's a smart guy. So I think push come to shove. I think you need to keep him on the team. I think he can be a solid. Like we think that all guys just need to end up being a starting quarterback. Like everybody's not going to be a starting quarterback in a National Football League, and we feel like, oh man, well he don't need to be on the team. Well, you need a solid backup quarterback. Like quarterbacks get hurt, and you need somebody to be able to step in. But everybody can't be a starting quarterback, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, you got some quarterbacks that have made a really good living being backup quarterbacks. Can I interest you in Chase Daniel? Can I interest you in Ryan Fitzpatrick? Right? I mean, look at you have some really solid backup quarterbacks throughout the years, and they've made a lot of money sitting on that bench holding that clipboard. Already read that one, and finally, I'll go ahead and end. I'll end with Cool Sports says misdemeanor only what you said. But also we were 5-2 with Jameis before he got hurt this season after Drew left, and I believe if he didn't get hurt, we possibly would have made a playoffs. I think so too. I think they would have made the playoffs. But I'll end it with another one. Jameis was hated by the media. That's why he's not in Tampa right now. I think a lot of people have their reservations about Jameis Winston, to be honest with you. Both tackles for the Patriots, Trent Brown and Michael Onwenu, Onwenu are about to be free agents too. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of ways the Saints can actually approach free agency. But to me, I think you need to get yourself a young offensive lineman that you can actually develop, maybe be on a rookie deal, maybe help your cap situation, maybe do something like that. And my final thought before I get up out of here is I like the coaching moves that the Saints have had. I like the fact that the New Orleans Saints are doing their thing, man. I take no pride in talking bad about my hometown team. I tell y'all that all the time. I take no pride in it at all. I want to see this team get better. What happened in 2023, like it's in the past. Like when I do these shows, I'm not doing this based on what I seen or what happened in 2023. No, like what they're doing right now are good moves. And I'm basing my assessment on what they have done so far. So I like what they're doing. I think it's a step in the right direction. They finally getting off their behind and making some moves. I don't feel like it's going to get the fan base back in their good graces. You got to win. You got to win. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Once again, my name is TJ Jones. Really do appreciate your time. Much love to each and every one of you. Shouts out to everybody that donated on this episode. I really do appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Those that did not, have not subscribed, but, check out the show constantly. We're a nice community, man. We be honest about our favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. We have a lot of fun here, and I love doing this show. Been doing the show since 2018 for all the new people out there. Very passionate about the football team, a native of New Orleans. And, if you're into Saints football, you're into passionate Saints talk, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can check out the Gumbo Pie Sports podcast that's available on YouTube as well. And the Unapologetic Podcast, a podcast that doesn't focus on sports, mostly pop culture and life issues and real life situations. I think that it's a different type of take from, the type of podcast I do when it comes to sports. But shouts out to everybody that checked it out. We have a really good downloading presence as far as like Apple and Spotify. But thank you to everybody that that checked out the show, all the positive feedback that I get. If it's not for you, check it out. But check it out. If it's not for you, then that's okay. But it's available on youtube.com. Search Unapologetic Podcast. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening or morning or night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I gotta say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.